Hello, everyone. This is JD Calderon, and this is Indy Comics Explained. And yet again, I brought another fantastic group of indie comic publishers. So please hit like, hit subscribe, share out the video, let everybody know we're here. And one more time, the Oswald Chronicles currently on Kickstarter. So, these are some of the covers for issues 1 through 4 of It Broke Free and Couldn't Read. So go check it out. It's in the show notes. And we're coming up with our first stretch goal. I got some of these guys I'm giving away to everybody. It's a magnet, and that's a little guy right there. I think I promised the first 45 backers that came in within the first 48 hours, I would give those things to them. So I think I still have about 10 or 20 left. I'm not really sure how many, but I got a few left. So I'm just going to keep giving them out until they run out. So that'll be that. But anyway, without further ado, let's bring on our co-host, this guy.
What's up, Streamland? I am JD Rosario from Unstoppable Comics. That's JD Rosario, spelled with 2 E's and 1 Y, and it's exactly where you think. No, okay. You didn't get it? You didn't see it. I guess you didn't see it. You didn't see it yet. No. Oh, man, come on, bro. This is a great line. Anyways, folks, I'm Jay from Unstoppable Comics, producing books for over 15 years, such as The Storm Chasers, our character guide, Shield of the Interceptor, Dragon Storm, and Unstoppable Origins. Gonna head on over to the website, unstoppablecomics.com. Check us all out.
Yeah, those books, they're actually kind of good. I like them.
I'm glad. Seal of approval, baby. Bam. We take that. Take that.
Exactly. I want to insult the hell out of you, but your work. I can't take it out of your work.
Dude, I built up that line. You know what I mean? Come on, I worked on it.
And here's our co-host, Mr. JD McFee. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Not a problem. I'm JD McFee, president of the CGC Studios, creator of Amazonia, Primetime Saturday Night, and AWF. And I'm just filling in a seat for tonight.
All right, cool. Well, hopefully you'll be doing more than that.
Oh.
And one of our guests, John, please introduce yourself, sir.
I'm John Celestri. I'm a professional animator, a 2D animator from back to in the 70s. I'm a comic book creator now. And back in the day, I animated the first appearance of Boba Fett in the Star Wars Holiday Special, worked on Dragon's Lair, Space Ace, He-Man, and She-Ra, worked on Rock and Rule. I've done all kinds of stuff, and just now I'm doing my my line of comic books, and it's the Bloodwing Angel Chronicles that's now on Kickstarter.
Nice.
Very nice. Sorry about that. What's up, Pigtail Nation?
What's going on, brother? First, I just want to say I love that Boba Fett cartoon. I mean, if there was one gem in that Star Wars Holiday Special, it was that Boba Fett cartoon. You know what I mean? And it was done so differently than what you had seen at that time. But it almost had that, heavy metal style to it, brother. You know what I mean?
Yes, and that's exactly what it was. All right, but enough about me. You go ahead.
Oh man, I'm just saying, man. I've been on a show with you before. It was a couple of years ago, for sure. Easy now.
Okay,
but I remember this story, man. You know what I mean? I'm LP or Larry. I do the comic book Niobe. We're currently on Indiegogo for Niobe Outbreak #2. I don't have all the Niobe books by me to flash. I had a bunch of other stuff, but here's one of them though, the Paul Green cover for nice. Niobe Birthright #1. This is what sells on eBay. That's it. But yeah, I do Niobe, and I'm just here to hang out and shoot the breeze, comic books, and all that good stuff, brothers.
Nice.
And last but certainly not least, Chris, how you doing? Please introduce yourself, sir.
Great, thanks for having me. I'm Chris Brimmage. I'm the author of Mandrill PI, both a comic series and a set of prose novels, as well as The Multiverse Askew, which is a set of comedic sci-fi novels. So excited to be here to talk comics.
All right, cool. And again, everybody, I think all three of the gentlemen on the bottom shelf, all of you have Kickstarters, Indiegogos, all you guys. Mm-hmm. It's all in the show notes. Go to the show notes, click on a link, go support an independent publisher. But we're gonna do that a little bit later as well. So anyway, first question of the night. I was reading something on Facebook, and somebody was having a problem there's a customer service issue with a difficult customer, a difficult backer, right? We've all done campaigns, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think I've ever had one that I can remember. Fortunately, thankfully, but I know how I would react and how I would first react. But my question is, you guys, is how do you deal with a difficult customer? And yeah, how would you deal with it? How would you deal with a difficult customer? And how do you avoid dealing with a difficult customer? Right. So let's start off with Mr. Celestri.
Well, first off, to answer your second question first, give impeccable service. Make sure you deliver exactly what you promised on time, or maybe even ahead of time, and have your book quality. It's just filled with good stuff. Now, make sure that you package everything correctly. Make it as difficult as possible for something to be screwed up. And I will tell you exactly what the post office did to really screw up a delivery overseas. So, but that's it. But actually, I've not had any customer, any supporter tell me, I'm unhappy with what you've done or what I've done. So I can't really. I haven't reached that point yet. I mean, I've done 9 crowdfunders, and so within that, I still haven't received a bad problem, with anybody. So
that means you're doing a good job.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Okay, there you go.
Exactly. There's American Comics says, "Hail chat. What's up, American Comics?"
Hey,
So Larry, what are you thinking? Have you ever had any issues? I think you're muted. I can't hear you.
I was boomering, brother. That's a boomer
Sorry.
moment. No, not really, because I sort of go out of my way to avoid that as much as possible. I mean, just like John had said there, I package things like they're going to go through a war, I mean, the worst I've ever had is, once in a while a book will come dinged up, or, something gets lost in transit. And I'm very quick to, like, when someone makes a comment, on my Kickstarter or sends me a message to pretty much act on that stuff right away. Oh, you got a damaged book. Okay, show me a picture. Okay, cool. Here's your book. Done. You know what I mean? So I haven't had any real issues, no. But I mean, if I did, I just do what I do right now. I usually go out on my way to look after said issue. I've taken a couple of hits monetary wise on a couple of things just to make sure, people were happy. And sometimes it sucks when you got to take a small financial hit, but at the same point, it's better to, maybe be out $30 or $40 for something than have like some guy come to your campaign and just, vomit all over it.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
that's it. That's the answer.
Gotcha. Chris, any thoughts?
I mean, similar to what everybody else has said, just don't overpromise and underdeliver. It's always promise and then deliver ahead of time and send in. I mean, I use the Gemini mailers for everything, and then within those, just stuff the package with, well, both the goodies and then also the protective sleeves, protective, bubble wrap, all the fun stuff to keep everything from getting damaged. Because if people are backing a Kickstarter, it's usually to get something that they feel is collectible, and if it shows up damaged, then it might not be a customer for long. So the idea is just to keep them happy without giving them a reason to get upset. I also haven't really experienced the issue, but I think ultimately it would come down to digging a little bit deeper to find out what the actual issue is. And if it's an issue of shipping, even if it was a post office issue, I still would make it right away, just like what the other people said. So it's just a matter of giving people what they paid for.
Yep. All right, fair enough. Joe, any thoughts?
I'm just waiting for a clear definition of customer, because everything that was said up to this point does not necessarily meet with my definition of customer, because
we're talking about
after a purchase is made as opposed to before.
Right, we're talking about backers and the rewards that have been shipped.
Okay, so you're only talking about crowdfunding as a whole.
Yes.
After campaign's over, everything is said and done.
Right.
You have to go out your way at that point.
Yeah.
It's no longer about, well, are they trying to prove a point about how something is being presented to them, as opposed to, hey, they pay for the product. You have to make certain that it's presented to them correctly, that it gets there, that you keep all your promises, even the smaller ones, because there's like things where it's like, even recently, it's like one person sent me a message saying, hey, when did you send the digital out? It's like, hey, did you get the updates where I sent it to specific tiers where like there are all the links for it? And it's like, well, I gave $5 extra because I wanted all the ones that I didn't have in digital format. So I had to go back and backtrack a lot of messages just to find out. I was like, did we promise that or not? Turns out we really didn't. We kind of mentioned it, but we really didn't, confirm it. So I just went ahead and gave it to them. Sent them the link and let them have it. I mean, that's what making things right, or fixing misunderstandings correctly. Sometimes even with damaged books, everybody thinks that it's like, oh, I'm just going to resend another one. To me, it's like, no, you send a brand new fresh one and maybe something in addition to it, because again, it's not their fault that it came damaged, and it's not really your fault that it became damaged, but it's an inconvenience that they went through. Want to make certain that they're happy at the end, and that something extra would be something that you probably will not offer to anybody else to make them feel special.
Yeah, and you probably gain yourself a future backer that way as well. Yep. Hold on, let me pop this up. American Comics Corporation says, share y'all out on Twitter, on the Twitterverse. Thank you.
Nice.
What's up, Jay? What are you thinking?
I am the perfect person to ask this question to, because not only do I have years of retail experience, but I also worked in the baggage claim department of TWA Airlines at JFK Airport. So the biggest airport in the city, with one of the oldest airlines. And you weren't coming to see me unless you were pissed off at something, right? So you learn very quickly how to, one, de-escalate the situation, right? Talk them off the ledge, keep them from spitting at you, yelling at you, or damaging you online. Apologize, right? Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry this happened. What can I do to make it better, right? A lot of people don't understand that. All right, we're crowdfunding, but we also have a contract we have to fulfill. And the terms of that contract have to be fulfilled up until the point the customer receives their product. If they receive their product and it's dinged up, yes, like everyone is saying, and like Joe added, put a little bit extra, because in retail, it is harder to retain a customer than it is to get a brand new one. And if you think it's going to, hurt the pocket, well, that's one of the reasons why I'm always talking about offset printing, because with offset printing, if you got to throw a couple extra copies in there, you throw a couple extra copies in there at 75, maybe 80 cents, as opposed to the $2.90 or whatever you're spending on print on demand. And that's going to add up over time. 3-4 customers, you got the problem with, that's close to $50 with shipping and stuff like that. Whereas offset printing, maybe you're hitting in the 30s, right? So there's a cost that gets applied to it as well. But at the end of the day, yes, you want to make them happy, and you want to make sure that not only are they going to be sticking around, but they're going to evangelize for you and tell everybody else, hey, this shit came fucked up, but this person did right by me. You need to check them out. Not only do they have a good product on top of that.
Nice. I think about, okay, so I've backed a lot of projects. I've only had 2 come in damaged, and the 2 times they came in damaged, I contacted I took photos and I sent it over to the creators, and I got my books back relatively quickly. One of them was from a very high profile creator, and I was surprised they got it back to me as fast as they did. I mean, they got it back like super fast. Nice. I got it like within 3 days. I got a new book. So that was awesome. And then one story, and this one's for Nita. I don't know if she's listening, but she told me that my last book, which I packed, thick, and but her postal person seems to hate her, so they bent the edge to get it into her mailbox. Oh. And she says, just the fact that I put on so much bubble wrap is what rescued the book, because nothing was damaged.
Nice.
And I was just like, yeah. And I was like, okay. I was like, yeah, try to get a new postal person.
Everybody talks about Gemini mailers. I know you brought that up, Chris. I don't use Gemini mailers. I use a hard mailer, not that flop, that cardstock envelope, right? But I use a hard mailer that I pick up from Uline in bulk. But I also use these clamshell mailers, man. You know, and you could fit quite a ton of stuff. You know, sometimes those Geminis, you know, there's a limit to stuff like that. But these clamshells, you can pack those babies in, Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, I use those when I ship out novels. I use those clamshells and load
man.
those up. But yeah,
that-
they're great.
I
And you
did
don't
the
got to
sa-
worry about them folding that.
I did the same thing shipping, you know, decades ago, you know, trade paperbacks, you know, and you're doing it that way. Yeah.
All right, cool. Mr. Rosario, you're up, sir.
Yeah. All right. Simple question. If you had to choose one, gentlemen, where would you rather have your books shelved at? Would you rather have them in comic book shops, or would you rather have them in newsstand stands and supermarket stands?
Larry, you're up.
For me, and just because the nature of what Niobe is, right? It's more a book geared to adults. It's not like buying an Archie off the rack. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Niobe's got to be in a specialty shop, comic book shop, all the way for me, I guess. Yeah. I mean, just because of the nature of the book. If I had an all ages book, that'd be a different story, you know?
All right, cool. Chris, what do you got?
I'd say comic shop, just because that's where the audience is for the type of work that I put out. And so it's much like even putting your stuff on an online retailer. If you're not putting it into the place where your audience is going to be, then you might be in front of more people, but it's not going to translate to more sales or more fans, because you're just going to be in front of people who might not be as interested in comics. So I go comic shop.
Okay.
John?
Both. And I'll tell you why. Because I've got, first off, with Bloodwing Angel, it's the kind of thing that it's the book that it's an adult. It's mature, except for it's a 17 plus. Okay, there's nothing that you haven't seen in Saga, for example.
Right.
You know, it's nothing like that. So it has to be in a comic book specialty shop. In Europe, it would be on the newsstand. I mean, you know, that'd be different. But then there's also the kids stuff, the Snuffy and Zoe and Mega Moose. That would go in newsstands, and that would work really easy, you know, if there was if there was a way to get it. But it's you got 4 to 7-year-olds and 8 to 11-year-olds and 12-year-olds. But still, where is the audience going to be? You know, and that's where you look at it. I mean, like, Jay, you're talking about if it actually happened, if they actually had places.
Yes.
You know, and that's the thing. I mean, I've got such family-friendly stuff that no one's seen that had that. You know, I had crowdfunding, but you know, it's really tough to connect with adults to buy it for their kids, because kids don't have the option of actually going anywhere and buying something for themselves. Okay, so anyway, those are my answers.
All right, cool. Joe, you got any thoughts on it?
Well, the way John approached it, that would have been my answer. It would be both, but it would be for a different reason. And I hate to say this, but my answer kind of contradicts with what is being said. It's like you have to go where your audience at. And it's like, well, your audience is going to follow you no matter what. I'd rather be in a place where new people can find it to become a fan of it. So if it means that if I could get into like a newsstand or a big box store and people get to see it and they could get to pick it up at a reasonable price, so be it. I will want that. Now with comic book stores and specialty shops, my question there would be, how much of a push is that store is going to give to me, as opposed to somebody discovering it at like a grocery store or a newsstand and stuff to that magnitude? Because people always look for new stuff at a newsstand. When you go into a specialty shop or a comic book shop, most 9 times out of 10, fans of comics are going to look for the stuff that they want and what they're accustomed to. They're not necessarily going to look for something brand new.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather be in both just to cover the full gambit. But if you really look at it from that aspect, it's like you always want to look at it from where can I get somebody new, as opposed to maintaining the fandom that I already have. And to me, it seems like being in like the newsstand and big box stores may give you a better if I could say better, how can I put this? A better option of getting out there in front of new people than the specialty stores. But the specialty stores know exactly what you have there, and if they do take the time to push your product in front of their clientele, you have a better chance of getting that actual sale there, as opposed to a newsstand. But it's kind of like, choose your poison. But with that being said, I would rather be in both just to cover the full spectrum.
For myself, well, let me get the question a little bit more nuanced. Now, are we self-financing into the big box stores, or are we going through a publisher?
No, you're self-financing.
No, then
Okay.
it's direct market, because I know we've gone through. Jay and I have gone back and forth on this quite a bit, going through the big box stores, returns, and just the numbers are just massive. The amount of outlay in the beginning before you see a return, if you see a return, you might see a negative. If you're doing it all yourself, then yeah, that outlay I think is extremely cost prohibitive for a regular human, for a regular person. If you don't have at least $250,000 financing behind you to do that, you don't have no business doing it.
But it also depends on which big box store you're going into.
Well, of
Right?
course.
I mean,
depend on what you can negotiate. Like I said, we've been here. We're gonna get into it now. Go for it, buddy. Go for it.
No. Look, yes, self-financing is costly. But don't get it twisted. If you're going into Diamond and on direct distribution, they want to see your numbers too before you put the book on before you get the code for that page. And if you don't have the numbers, they're not going to let you through. So money is always going to be the number one barrier. I would rather have newsstand distribution as opposed to direct market distribution. Part of it is because of the bias of everything that's coming out of Brian Hibbs' mouth. I'm sorry. I know he doesn't speak for every retailer out there, but he is the most vocal. And goddamn, is this guy making shit really sour, not just for the indie community, but also for single issue books. But if I flip the whole game of the direct market distribution, how many times do you hear retailers say, "Oh, I only want to deal with one vendor"? Well, you know what? Flip that to me as a publisher. I'd rather deal with one vendor as opposed to 3,000 stores that I'd have to contact every month, right? When you do that, how much time do you got if you're producing on a monthly basis, and you don't have a team behind you? How much time now do you have to dedicate on publishing, marketing, working with your collaborators, branding new content? Another thing is, you know what? If I got stuff on the newsstand, it's my opinion, but comic books are an impulse buy. Even when you go to a comic book shop, you're going to pick up your staples, either your Batman, your Spider-Man, or your Hulk, or your Wonder Woman, whatever the case is. You're going to go to the shop for that. Maybe you'll peruse around there. Maybe you'll find something that'll tickle your fancy, right? You got more of a chance of people's fancies being tickled when they're on the newsstand. And that, whether it is the newsstand or whether it is direct market distribution, that's still the top of the funnel. All right. I want to make sure that the book is loaded with information to get those customers to come back so I can sell to them directly, direct to consumer off the website. End of the day, that is where I can offer the biggest bang for the buck to my customer and for myself. So I think the most cost-effective and time-effective, not cost-effective, the most time-effective way of doing this would be newsstand distribution.
Now I'm smiling because I have a big ass pin. I'm gonna stick in that.
Go ahead.
Listen, I mean, for myself, like, pick one, right? But
Yeah.
whatever big box store you're gonna go to, you're looking at least 1,000 stores, right?
Okay.
For it to be worthwhile, right? Whether
Okay.
it be Walmart, whatever. When the Brightwire were doing Walmart, it was 3,000 stores, right? We were involved in some BS where we were talking to something like 1,200 stores or 1,000 stores, whatever the hell it was, right? But whatever place you're going to go into, you're looking at least 1,000 shops, right? And even at just 10 books per shop, you're talking about 10,000 books. You're talking about a 90. They're probably not going to pay you for 90 days.
Okay.
In some cases, 160.
Okay.
Right, depending on what their terms are,
Mhm.
and it's probably going to be fully refundable. And then the question is are you doing monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly? Are you doing what format are you releasing it? Are you releasing it as a great comic book? I know Jay has a big thing with poly bags, which is cool, and getting them returned. But sometimes, the company that's returning it to you, they got restocking fees, reshipping fees, all this other stuff that'll whatever profits you might have made will get eaten up. The other issue is some of these retailers like Walmart. I've worked for some of these big box stores, and I've worked usually at the high end of management. And do you know how many times stuff comes in and it just sits in the back?
Right.
Never gets put out.
Right.
Never makes it because there's nothing. There's no SKU or it has no real placement, right? In the store, like it's like an odd thing. You say, okay, just put this anywhere. You'd be like, yeah, I got somewhere to put it. It's gonna stay in the back. That's where it's gonna stay put, right? So yeah, I mean that's just
now these are levels of business that a lot of people here don't understand, and I don't want to go too deep into this. I don't want to get too deep into this, but look, when you're in supermarkets, Budweiser has its own people coming out and stocking stuff from the back. Okay, same thing with Walmart, same thing with Target and big box stores and stuff. Can we afford that? I don't know. Depends on if you're getting a loan with a letter of intent or a purchase order from the big box that you're going into, right? And you got a plan, you got a structure accordingly. If you can't afford those people who are going to be packing out in states you're not in because you're a one-man show, well, you know what? Can you get evangelizers out there to do that stuff for you? All right. Can you have people who are going to be representing you properly? And maybe you pay them a consultant's fee, right, for their one time to get in there to make sure that stuff is packed out properly, and you give them the credentials from yourself. But again, these are levels of business and little nuances that we don't have to get into right now. But there are, for everything you bring up, there's always a counter.
Let's get into it, you fucker. Not really joking.
But there's always a counter, and we know that. We know that from retail. So there, unfortunately, there's always got to be somebody first out the gate. Right, somebody's always got to take those bullets for everyone else to say, "Oh my God, look at Joe Schmo doing it."
Hold on, Anthony Press has done it with Walmart. Nearly destroyed that company.
Is he still around though? But is he still around?
Listen, I've spoken to him.
Yes, no. Is he still around?
A lot of assumptions being made.
Yeah, he's still around.
Okay.
But it's like being around missing a leg, bro.
Yeah.
You came out. You live missing a leg. You're not whole.
Okay. Yeah, and that is understandable. Yes, and I know about horror stories from Walmart alone. I remember reading about a milk company in the Midwest that was out there, and they made more money once they pulled their milk out of Walmart, right? But when it comes to this country, and Larry, I don't know what it's like in Canada, but when it's out here, the majority of our comic book shops are on the coasts. They are, right? Once you get into the Midwest, it's sparing. I remember when I was in Virginia, dude, it was maybe 60 miles between comic book shops, right? I was in Orlando just prior to the summer, and I found about 8 different shops, but still there was a drive. And if you're a kid on a bike, you're not going to hit all of them.
Oh no.
But there's Walmarts on every corner. Excuse me. There's Dwayne Reed's, Rite Aid's, CVS, and pick whatever pharmacy on every corner of the nation. Yeah, what's up, John?
Go ahead, John. Talk.
Okay, look at what with Peter Simeti. He's gone through all that.
Okay.
He's all gone through that thing, and the returns, the problems, and just the out chicanery, and we're talking about small presses here. We're not talking about anywhere of the kind of level that people got like $1 million to start it off with. Okay, so the thing about it is that comic books have the shelf life of milk that's been put out in the sun, and they're going to rip off the thing. Whatever the case is, we have to have an idea of what it is that you're building and you can't build something without there being a presence. And if you don't buy, if you don't give them a financial, your real estate holding, in there, which you're guaranteeing them sales, even by buying the end caps and things of that sort, you're not going to get any placement anywhere. And you're talking about huge commitment of finances just to get your product out there. But is your product good enough? That's and right there. So you've got those two things. And Joe, go ahead.
You hitting on a lot of the assumptions that I was thinking about when they got into this here. Because you're not going to go to a big box store without having sales numbers to give to them. And that's where, John said, Peter Simeti got into deep, hot water because those outlets, when he was doing newsprints, was not giving him the hard data on sales. They were manufacturing numbers. They was not giving him accurate numbers. Okay. And that was causing a major loss for him doing that. And you have to take that in consideration. You have to take in consideration of the revenue that's coming in from other sources. So for us to really put it out there the way that you're going to put it out there, I was treating it more or less like if it's a wish list, I'd rather be in both. But if you talk about a first time coming out the gate, small press publisher, going to a big box store and getting to a big box store, he must have to have some type of angel investor behind him that's going to invest at least $500,000 to like $1.5 million just to cover warehousing, returns, and possibly what other type of revenue that they need to start having come in to surplus what could happen if they start taking a loss.
Yeah, and you need to have a burn rate, of what you're going to do. And basically, you're not going to make any money for the first 3 years at least.
Well, that's assumption at the moment.
No assumption. No, it's true.
Why basically 3 years?
Hold on. Chris looks like he's.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chris. Good.
Sure. Oh no. I was just I had an opinion on some of this as well. And realistically, though, like if we're thinking about what we're talking about, a lot of the reason people are saying to jump into like a newsstand or big box store is to get your comic in front of more people. And it's sort of like advertising in the sense that, like, with advertising, you can advertise to just a broad swath of the US. Like you can set your advertising terms to get in front of more people. But if those people aren't interested in what you're putting out there, if they're not your audience, you might be, spending good money after bad. Whereas the reason why I had picked Comic Shop in general is because it's where your audience is. And granted, you can get in front of more people with the other, with newsstand big box store. But if the audience isn't there to look for comics, then you're just putting the name out there, and you can think of it as advertising, but it might not get you the returns that you're looking for. Okay. And it's the same thing that we do in, so I work in the spirits industry, and we're not just throwing money on TV advertising all the time. We go where our audience is and where people are interested in seeing your product. And that tends to be why I gave that answer of Comic Shop. But you know what? I also might have interpreted the question a certain way, whereas other people.
No. Look, there's no wrong answer, and I love the way that everybody's getting involved in this.
I want to.
Yeah, what's up, Larry?
Well, I mean, first of all, what happened with the Brightwisers was like a 1 in a million thing, right? Hey, we got our own thing, and we're gonna get it in Walmart. Not an easy feat to do. Okay. So it's like the path of success by, hey, you're going to be a guy in the indies and you're going to put your stuff in a big box store is a lot more complicated, and I bet a lot more red tape than anyone will ever dream of. Right? It's not, basically what I'm saying is not realistic. First of all, you know what I mean? But what is realistic, and I've done it, right, is go the publishing route, right? Find a publisher that will take you on, and that will put you out there a little bit further, right? In my case, it's Antarctic with Niobe, and we're in comic book shops, at least the comic book shops that order AP, just like Peter Simeti used to be in comic book shops before he pulled out and just went strictly Indiegogo, And by that, that helps your product grow. And it's not going to be leaps and bounds and millions of dollars overnight. But now I can guarantee you, I hear from people who never backed an IOB Kickstarter that went and picked up the AP version of the book. There's the logo right there. And you know what else is cool that gets the word out is you get like a different book from their line. And when you open it up, oh my God, this is the best stuff ever, right? Advertisement for you right on the front.
House ads. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
So, and then so my advice would be maybe find a publisher, build your name, build your street cred a little bit. And then as that product grows, then more doors will open for you. And then maybe eventually someone says, hey, you should do an all ages Niobe manga style and try and get it out there. And you know what I mean? Or maybe someone calls AP and says, you guys got a book there that looks kind of cool. Maybe we can do a little deal, who knows? But that's how I'm going about that anyway.
Okay.
All right, cool. Hold on, let me go through the chat real quick. U-lines and shit are fine, but if you use Gemini, use agents too.
Watch your feet. Nita's dropping them bombs, baby.
Davey says, what do you do when you have a customer come at you in bad faith in the hopes that to get freebies or refunds? Thus, get your stuff for free. I mean, we can touch back on that a little bit later.
Yeah.
Going like free delay, routine management of your products, shelf space, and there is not enough far reach of the earth where there are not. Critical Blast says being picked up by Walmart is often the worst thing that can happen to a small producer. P. Vasquez says,
yes.
There you go. America's Comics says Frito-Lay has a pre-hit to business account, and the routine when they come in is a receipt of what new has gone on the shelves, including returns accrued. Carlos says, hey, what's up, fellas? What's up, girls? Critical Blast says, my local Walmart still has copies of Red Rooster, Futurist, and Bass Reeves #1. And look, those are good freaking books. Those are good books. I like those damn books.
Okay.
No, they really work. Control, what's up, Phasing? What's up, Control? Long time no see. How you been? Anyway. All right. All right. I think we can put that one to rest for now. Mr. Joe, you're up, sir.
I'm just up here just trying. I'm still on the other question right now because it's just it's a lot of stuff to unpack in that. It's like I said, it's a lot being made. But to get the show back onto the rails here, I'm going to ask this question. How do you separate your own fandom from dealing with people in the industry when it comes to selling your product? Reason I'm asking that question is because a lot of times when a lot of people sell their product, they always make some type of analogy to what it's like, and 9 times out of 10 it's something that they like in the industry. And when you're trying to woo somebody new who has no clue about anything, you may get them lost. So I'm just asking the question in general: how do you separate your own fandom to reach a person like that?
I'm sorry. Can you?
Yeah, my head hurts from that question.
Yeah, dude. Because it's like, are you trying to pitch them the book, or are you not trying to pitch them the book?
You're pitching your book or your product.
Okay.
However, this person has no clue about comics, don't care about.
So, all right, not the comic. When you say the industry, not the comic industry, you're talking about the broader entertainment industry. Okay.
All right, cool. Well, Chris, you're on the spot.
Sure. So stop me if I misunderstood the question. So the question is basically, if I'm pitching my book to somebody who's unfamiliar with comics, how do I pitch it and to connect with somebody who doesn't really pay attention to comics at all?
Comics or the basic entertainment industry as a whole. So you can't really use like any type of analogy to like, it's like, my book is kind of like how it's like Stranger Things meets the Flintstones. They would not understand something like that.
Okay, all right. My easy answer was going to be to use analogies that were not comics related. But with that off the table, I think for me, I would pitch it as some of the one of two ways. One, if they are interested in sort of like a deeper emotional story, if I talk to them for a second, I would pitch them on some of the inspirations for Mandrill PI. So Mandrill PI, the main character there has dealt with the recent loss of his wife, and the overarching story within the comics and then the novels is about him coming to terms with his grief and pulling himself out of his alcoholic downward spiral. Also plays into a lot of tropes within noir urban fantasy and just noir in general. So not using any analogies, if that kind of thing seems like it would connect with the person, I would tell them a little bit about my background and how it relates to that story, because a lot of it was me writing it in dealing with my parents' deaths about 10 years ago or so, and 5 for my dad, 10 for my mom, and like how I used some creative, how I use this to deal with that grief. And so if we're going completely outside of entertainment industry, outside of any sort of comparison at all, and just connecting on an emotional level that way, if we can use some analogies from the entertainment industry, then I would lean into the idea of it's really a hard-boiled detective story playing into essentially investigating occult mysteries, but it's in a cartoon world. And so that's where, if I can't even use any entertainment industry at all, then they might, and we have to assume that they don't understand what cartoons are, then that's where I might not be able to use that answer. So that's where it's like, depends on exactly what the question is asking. But normally I would do the latter there. It would be where it would be the shorter pitch of, this is a guy investigating an occult mystery in a cartoon world. And by guy, I mean Mandrill, because he's a primate. So.
Nice. All right. John, you're up.
Okay. I don't use any kind. Well, okay. The question is, do I talk or refer to my fandom? And the way I look at it is that when I ever do something, like for example with Blood Wing Angel, it's not about. There's nothing similar to comics in the comic industry that way. I think in terms of what's the theme, what is it all about? You know, what's your log line? What's the emotional element to it? It's kind of like, how can you as a reader relate to my character? And that's the approach that I would do whatever comic book I'm doing. You know, with Blood Wing, it's you feel if you follow the rules, the protagonist Michael has followed all the rules and is screwed by his creator. You know, and so it becomes a pawn between the two gods. And how does this character survive being thrown out and just and has to go into a whole world that everything, all the world is all the rules have been torn upside down, and has to understand what the new morality is. You know, you've been God has said, oh, well, I'm playing with you. Now, haven't we all felt that way? And that's the element that I would be put in, is how I would put in, you know, to my readers. And that's why, you know, that's basically what I say all the time, where, you know, in that whatever you do in your creation as a comic book, it has to be more than just a comic. It's, you know, it's about humanity, and you're showing you're talking about and you're creating stories about the humanity of this character within sequential art.
Cool. Larry?
Yeah, you know, 100% I could do it both ways. I could be like, Niobe is this meets this, and that would satisfy a lot of people. But if I'm just talking to someone who has no knowledge of comics, and if I tell them that, they're just going to scratch their head. I would just tell them what the book is about, like we do on Kickstarter. You know, that Niobe is a superhero / cyberpunk genre of a comic book that focuses around a Japanese pop star with the ability to teleport. And the more she does it, the more she learns it's causing her body harm. We also deal with a lot of mature subject matter. Pitch, done.
Cool. Jay?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the question. Because if you're asking, you know, what's my elevator pitch? Like Larry said, it's A plus B equals C. It's that. But I have a number of friends in the entertainment industry. I'm not going to say their names because I don't trade on them. So I mean, they know I write comic books.
He doesn't want to brag.
I don't. You know, and you know, I've grown up with some of them. I've worked with some others who've come up. As a mailman, I have delivered to some and established friendships with quite a few people. And I don't, you know, and these are people I go over and whatever. I fucking play Dungeons and Dragons with, but I don't, you know, I don't trade. I don't trade on their name. I don't ask them to, you know, oh, can you please drop this off with anyone for me? I don't know. I feel guilty for doing that. You know?
Okay. For myself, I mean, I don't know. I mean, to go with along with Chris was saying, if I had no options to let's say, you know, use anything from any of those genres, I could say, you know, we're looking at a lost soul who's traveling through life trying to figure out who they are, and they just happen to be a mouse, right? That's the essence of Oswald. That's what he is. You know, if I could use the tropes, I could, you know, say something like, you know, Secret of Nim meets Harry Potter, right? You know, something along those lines, something silly like that, you know. But in the end, you know, it is, you know, an individual traveling through life, trying to discover themselves, and he just happens to be a talking mouse, you know, and the only one who could talk in the series. There are talking mice.
Don't trade on any Don Bluth stuff when you got Mr. Celestri down there, bro. You know what I mean? They tag you for some back pay, bro.
Don't worry. I stopped working for him a long time ago. So, I mean, okay, I would do this here. If I came out with my the 1717 Club, you know, book, okay, it would be From Dusk Till Dawn meets The Sopranos. I mean,
nice.
There's that. So
okay.
All right, cool. As long as you have Selma Hayek dancing on the stage every night, I'm good. I'll be there.
Yeah.
Also, that means you haven't really read the books because he showed what the 1717 Club really is.
Yeah.
I know, I've read the books, but yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, so hold on. Let me put some of these up. Maybe so, but 7-Eleven or Walgreens, an original marketplace for comics in the gold and silver and early bronze age comics, is not quite as much green to cover. By all means, start small to grow your market share.
Mm-hmm.
And Carlos says, by the time I get to lunch, y'all be wrapping up this whole hard to work or follow closed caption. Thank you, Carlos, for trying. All right, so listen. So here we go. I'm gonna do one more question, and then we're gonna.
It's about my own question.
Yeah. What's your question?
Remember, I was the one that asked the question. Normally,
I'm sorry about it. Yes. Answer your question, dang it. Sorry about it.
I asked that question because I have a tendency to notice certain things, because one of the things that I hate the most is elevator pitches. And when I go through that elevator pitch where A plus B equals C, it changes the meaning and the actual pitch of what is truly in the book itself. And that to me bothers me. You know, it's like reaching out to somebody who is a part of the comic book culture is one thing, but when you reach out to somebody who is not, it's a completely different type of sale. And knowing that you have to have, you know, knowing that your best pitch takes more than 30 seconds, it kind of puts you at a disadvantage in trying to figure out what would be best to sell them on your book.
Yeah, but what if you all you have is 30 seconds? You know, the world doesn't operate on what we like.
No, that's what I'm getting at, JD. That's what I'm saying. It's like, you know, it's two sides. It's two sides to everything. It's like you got people who are great at elevator pitches, great at it, and they can reach people. But the thing about it is, what if there's misrepresentation in that reach? And that's the reason I was asking that question.
I want to go back a second with Joe. You know, the man of action, right? When that team was pitching Ben 10, right? They had 30 pitches in 30 minutes, and they took a minute to pitch each one. Of those 30 minutes, they ended up selling 3 shows. So it only took them 3 minutes to land 3 gigs that, built the fortune before they squandered it. But that's the way things are, dude. You know what I mean? You're limited in how much time you got. So can you boil it down to something that's less than a minute and still be interesting and still encompass everything that you have in the story? There's got to be a perfect mold between the A plus B equals C and a little bit more.
Right. But I
And
mean,
you picked the perfect example with Men of Action, because when you think about it, what you were talking about, two of those shows that he pitched that were their mainstays, they were essentially the exact same show, following that A plus B equals C. It was essentially the same show, because when they did that final crossover to everything, they kind of underline hinted that they're essentially the same character.
It was 3 guys. All right. It was Joe Kelly, Pasquale Ferry, and somebody else. I forgot who the third person was. It wasn't just one guy pitching. And
No,
that's
it was three. It was three that
was 3 guys. Right.
It was 3 that were pitching, but remember,
each one took
what they
10
sold
pitches.
was the original Ben 10.
Right. The Rex, whatever.
Generator Rex, and both of those shows were essentially the exact same show. The only difference was one was dealing with aliens and the other one was dealing with machines.
Bro, it don't matter. They sold it. They fucking sold it, right? And there was one more show that they sold. I forgot which one it was. But it doesn't matter because they got the contract to produce the show, the series. And we can say whatever we want to say, but that Ben 11 is turning out to be an evergreen property where it's rebooted every 10 years and hitting a brand new audience and just bringing them dough, bro. Evergreen properties are few and far between. What's evergreen? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Batman, Superman, Hulk, and Spider-Man can't even be considered evergreen anymore.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far.
Really?
Why not? You gonna tell me Batman is not evergreen?
No, I said Batman is evergreen.
Oh, it is evergreen. Oh, okay.
Yes.
My apologies. But Nita came to school us. She says, always have a 30-second brief pitch on hand, but always have your detailed 1 to 3 minute pitch as a backup, especially for those not familiar with comics. And then she says, if you can't tell me what you're selling in under 2 minutes, it's really too complicated.
Yes.
There you go. All right, cool. So, all right, cool. I'm going to pull up some campaigns. Mr. Rosario, ask a quick question while I do this, because, come on, do something.
You motherfucker.
It's just like how he put you up under the bus. He just put you up under the bus that time.
It's Rosario's job to be thrown underneath the bus. That's part of his gig. That's part of his shtick here.
Yeah. All right. You know what? Let me throw an anecdote rather than a question. John, whenever you mentioned the 717 Club,
I remember don't worry about it, John. Pitch your campaign. Rosario, you
motherfucker. You motherfucker. You know what? I hope you get diarrhea in your sleep. You fucking big best.
You know what? I don't mind that because I know the only reason you mentioned it because it's happened to you.
Yes.
John, you want me to play the video?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Just play it. There's no. It's just music and the visuals, but that should tell you the beginnings of it. Go ahead. Come on.
All right, cool.
So, but as I said, Michael is an innocent angel that's tossed out, as you could see. That's the basic premise. Why, and in the 120 pages so far, you find out why, and how they're being how Michael is used as a pawn, and we set the tone. We start seeing all the various characters, the neighborhood, the part of this new world that Michael is part of, and the character becomes the guardian angel for this world of this neighborhood of thieves and sinners and all sorts of weird people. So that's the 1717 Club that you just rolled by there. That's across the street from the religious gift shop that one of the major characters is part of. And that's just based on my experience, growing up in Brooklyn. My parents had a religious gift shop. We had the 1717 Club, which was the mobster hangout across the street from us. So it's from personal experience. So with these characters, there's all kinds of circumstances that Michael becomes involved with, maybe romantically with the younger, hero in this here. We've got all these various, demons that are surrounding this area that's been walled off over the last of hundreds of years, to using human sacrifice to ward off demons and such. But that's only one part of the one type of religious, beliefs. There's all kinds of religious beliefs, from your just flower power to human sacrifice. But the whole concept is that with Michael being tossed out, this innocent angel has been, as I said, been tossed out, but the character of the promise that was made has been broken, and that rips apart the universe momentarily and then stitches right back up, but it's no longer the same universe. What is morality now? What is truth? What is good? What is evil? We don't know, because things have been changed. And that's what Michael has to deal with. And so this is what we have. We have a whole bunch of pretty decent and small, perks. I mean, the highest is maybe a $50 perk at the most. We've got the highest one is, a copy of the of Bloodwing Angel, and a limited edition of 4 prints of poses from the Star Wars Holiday Special that of roughs that I did. So it's just going to be a limited edition of 4 each, of 100 at the max. We got pins. We've got a little some autographed books. We've got there's a what I call my ash can of how I put together my artwork, and so there's plenty there, for a variety of things. And the big thing is that I'm putting all the energy and all the knowledge that I have and experience of having worked in animation for all those years into this book. It's very heavy metalish in the old 1970s style. Also, there's a touch of 1960s underground comic. It's a very underground book.
Yes.
So
John, I know this is the 3rd issue. I've asked this question before, but for anyone
okay.
new, like how many more? How long do you think the series is going to be?
It could go on for as long as I'm alive. I mean, basically, because there is so much to go on. When I originally created this, it was as a novella, about 10 years ago. And the idea is, and then afterwards, I developed it to pitch as a TV series. And basically, there are many different worlds that have been isolated from each other by these walls that have developed over hundreds of years. And Michael can go from one to the other. It's not just one place. So there is a lot to do, but there's also the idea of Michael having to go from being both male and female. Sometimes Michael is very female, other times is very male. What happens in their experience as a human, as a semi-mortal, really, because Michael still has angelic powers. So there's a lot to go, and it's not just about once. It's very episodic. There is a line. It's very much like the soap opera, where you keep on going. I mean, there'll be story arcs, but there'll be lines that will continue all the way through, because then what happens in one story can affect the next story. But I've got maybe about 3 seasons worth. So right now, just for this alone, I've got another 2 to 3 books that can go into this arc. I mean, and then carry on to the next one.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. I mean, it looks awesome. You've already funded.
Yeah.
I know I backed it.
Yep.
So yeah, so this is cool. So yes, onward and forward, everybody. Just like I said, go pick up this book. It's awesome. And that pin, I have one of those. And if you can get one of those pins, I would suggest getting one of those pins. They're really cool.
Yeah, it's a soft enamel pin. It's a large one.
Yes, it is. It's 2 posts.
You could see the finger, my hand there, and that's how big it is. It's a quality pin.
Yeah. No, it's very, very nice. And unless you have tiny hands, which I don't think you do. It is a big.
No.
How much are you charging for the pin, John?
Let's see. What is that? You've got it's part of the $25 thing with the book.
Good.
And I think I've got a limited number of them, so go for that.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Very nice. Very nice. Jay, you good?
Yeah. Why?
No, I was just checking, making sure you weren't still upset at me.
I'm leaving. Fuck this place. Fuck this bullshit.
Larry.
Me.
Sir. Yes,
Yeah.
you're up, sir.
Yeah, so this is the Niobe Outbreak Second Chance campaign. So, we're some people might call it, JD, double dipping, if you will.
So what? Make your money, Larry. Make your fucking money, bro. I hate that shit.
But we've been on the show before when we were doing the Kickstarter, and we had a phenomenal, Kickstarter. We did, about $25,000 American on that.
Nice.
Well, we are struggling for some love on Indiegogo. It is a completely different platform with, I would say, completely different audience. We had 9 backers come out so far to drop, over $1,000 on us. So, these 9 backers are, they're spending big. You know what I mean?
Nice.
And we did a flexible goal because no matter what, I mean, the book's being made because of the Kickstarter anyway. So throw it up on Indiegogo, see if we can get a few extra people in on the deal, and we'll send out the book. So it didn't matter if we made $10, $100, $1,000, 100,000, right? Everyone who backs it is getting something. And we slimmed it down from the Kickstarter campaign. Like on the Kickstarter campaign, we had 14 variant covers, right? Which is a lot. Trust me, it's a lot. And I slimmed it down to 7, which is still a lot. You know what I mean? But we picked the ones that people really seem to gravitate to, like the Greg Bo Watson cover that you're looking at here. As you scroll down, we got Paul Green and Ula Moss, which was our top selling cover on the Kickstarter. So people got a chance to, grab that if they missed out. We had to honor Mr. Ben Dunn of an Antarctic Press for putting us on the shelves, and he's done a cover for us as well. And, we have the collector's tier, which will give you all 7 of these covers right there. So, I think a couple of our backers have definitely picked up on that. And we show off some interior pages. Like this book only has 2 pages left and it's done, right? This is your standard, floppy size comic book. This isn't like a 80-page graphic novel. And it's part 1 of 4 of the Niobe outbreak storyline, which is basically what if a virus was to, explode on Niobe's turf, and what if it affected humans and the genome population, which are genetic anomalies, aka mutants, a little differently,
Mhm.
And it deals with some subject matter in a sense of what's it like to have to wear a mask, and what's it like to social distance, and promises of vaccines and mandates, and the fear mongering, and trying to keep yourself safe in an unsafe world. And it's a social commentary on the last 2 years or so that we sort of had to go through, but through her eyes and with a different twist on the virus. So that's a Niobe Outbreak Second Chance campaign. And if you missed out on previous Niobes, of course, we have, as JD is sort of scrolling through here, a variety of add-ons, from the very first issue, the 3rd printing of it, to her origin story, Niobe Origins, to Birthright, which was the first story Antarctic Press published. You missed out on some of the cool variants. They're there, like that Catwoman homage to Adam Hughes that was done by Rag's own Luigi Terrell. That one's a Spider-Man homage right there. I had lots of weird Spider-Man collectors asking me about that one. Not that they're weird, but they only collect Todd McFarlane homage covers. That one there is done by Matt Weldon of Punchline fame.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's a great cover, man. Colors by Dan O'Vera. This here is done by Chris Enott, who's been recently doing covers over at Image Comics. I can't tell you what books he's been working on because I don't know, but when we contacted him, he was about to draw 6 covers that Image had hired him for right before he did this one.
Nice.
Yeah, Courtney Rose Dameron. This is one of the covers that Antarctic Press put on the shelf. And then we have a stretch goal. So we met that first stretch goal. So everyone's getting that promotional trading card between me and Scorpiana from CB Zane. And if, the gods are out there and the moon and the stars and the sun all align, maybe you guys can come out for Indiegogo and get us to that second stretch goal where everyone will get the official Niobe trading card, which got her info and bio on the back and all that good stuff. And there's no way, I shouldn't say no way. I mean, miracles can happen, but unlikely we'll hit these next ones. But, we have the bookmark, we have chibi stickers, we have, more trading cards. So lots of good stuff if we were ever to reach there. But I mean, Kickstarter and Indiegogo is night and day, brother. But this is just, the second chance campaign, before we go to print, because once this wraps up and once I get those last 2 pages in, we're heading to the printer, and we're going to start mailing out books hopefully within a month and a half or so. Just got to finish up the pages, get them lettered. And then Russ Cassidy, who's been a saint, by the way, is going to put all this together for print. And, then we send it off to Comics Wellspring.
Nice. All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, let me ask. Can I ask? What do you do? You said you got 7 variants in this one, but you have 14. What are you going to do with the extra 7, dude? How are you going to move them?
What do you mean? They've already been moved. They were bought on the Kickstarter.
Oh, okay. So you moved all of them. You only printed to order. You didn't have a surplus.
No, I mean, we'll always print a few extras just to have a couple on hand, or something gets missing or damaged, right?
Yeah.
But, I print the order, and then I'll print a handful just to kind of have kicking around the house and sell on the side. And, again, have some reserves in case, there's any missing or damaged ones.
No, I know, like myself, you're a Polito acolyte, and I saw on his last campaign,
brother, sworn.
Yeah, I saw on his last campaign to move some of his surplus variant covers. He was doing like a Wheel of Fortune, dude, and you bought into a specific tier of variant covers, and then whatever your backer number was, it spun, and you got whatever was there. So
yeah, I mean, that's an interesting sort of like mystery idea. He's done mystery boxes and random selections and things of that nature. I mean, with my surplus, if and I do got like 2 long boxes of Niobe comics behind me. A lot of that surplus is going to fulfill the Kickstarter, like from add-ons that people bought and stuff. But with the stuff that we got left over, you Usually we sell that via eBay or the Gumroad store, or people just message me out of the blue and, hey, do you still got this cover for Niobe? Yeah, sure. Pay me, PayPal me some money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, those sorts of sales happen, not all the time, but often enough,
Okay.
Yeah. No, it looks awesome. Are you on your way?
And then plus, just again, shout out to Antarctic Press, with them putting us in comic book shops, it helps, that, people who are reading the Antarctic Press books might, come and seek me out, to get the older stuff or jump in on the brand new Kickstarter, because Antarctic Press won't be touching us until all 4 issues are done,
Mm-hmm.
and then they'll publish it. So that's probably a 1.5 year wait. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice. Okay, cool. All right. Give me a second.
Oh man, he's too cheap to hire a producer to set this stuff up for.
Yeah, I know.
Look at that. He's got our projects we love. Congratulations.
Oh, way to go, dude.
Thanks.
Way to go.
Thanks.
All
Yeah,
right.
it was
Right.
super exciting to get that.
Yeah. Chris, do you want me to play the video first?
Sure, maybe we could just play it like the first 45, 50 seconds until it gets to my face, and then I can just talk over what my face would say on there anyway, so we can just do the beginning to show some of the art. All right, you can stop right there. So yeah, this is essentially an urban noir or noir urban fantasy set in a cartoon world. It's about a hard-boiled, hard-drinking private detective, and he's got to solve the murder of the city's most famous celebrity, who just so happens to be a parody of one of my favorite cartoon characters, a certain coyote who always chases a certain roadrunner. But when he discovers there's a deadly conspiracy behind the scenes that threatens to engulf the entire town, he sort of rushes to stop it. Will he stop it in time, or will mad science run amok through the town and bring a violent end to him and everybody he's ever cared for? Ultimately, I thought this started as a novella, much like John's project, where I love the challenge of taking a very visual medium like cartoons and turning it into prose. And so the idea is we take 2 very distinct genres, noir and cartoons, and essentially create a love letter to these 2 genres that I love: 80s and 90s cartoons and noir detective fiction. My protagonist, Manny Mandrel, he's a cartoon detective, and he's lost the love of his life to something super mundane. His wife died of lung cancer, and he has since that time drank himself into oblivion. He used to be a detective in the homicide unit, drank himself off the force. And a lot of it had to do with him and his wife sort of lying to himself about how bad that illness was. And now that he is sort of coming out the other end of that and starting to deal with his grief, he's got a physical aversion to lying and to people who do lie. And so he serves the truth because it's the only thing that makes sense to him anymore.
Hello.
You lose him?
Yeah.
Oh,
Am I here?
Yeah, you're back. You're back. Yeah.
Uh-oh. Okay, I might have rambled. I don't know how much we just missed there. But ultimately, he stumbles onto occult threats all the time because he tends to dig deeper than just what's on the surface. And it's a 6-issue series. This is the 3rd of 6. The art is completely done on this issue, and we're working our way through the 3 after this. Additionally, it's also novel series as well. So the first novel was released in my last Kickstarter in July. Yeah, in July. And then this is the third issue, and then we're going to do the fourth issue of the comic after this, and then after that we're going to do the second novel, and then the fifth and sixth issue of the comic, and then the third novel, and then the series will be complete. And you can see we've got multiple variant covers by some really cool artists, including Margot Fontanelli and Santiago Latour, and then Orlando Romero, and they bring a lot of just really cool composition to the character and create some striking images. And then our main artist on the series is Carlos Trigo, who's just been a joy to work with. He's awesome. So I can't recommend him highly enough to anybody who is out there looking for an artist for a project. He's amazing. Yeah, he's just awesome.
Is he expensive? That's the question.
Well, I can't afford anything super expensive.
Oh, my man.
So we'll put it like that. But he
All right.
He over delivers on everything, and he's awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah, and so
I'm sorry. Keep going.
Oh, no worries. So yeah, I've got some rewards on here, including the variant covers I mentioned. There's also a reward that allows you to get a custom canon Mandrill PI 10,000 word short story, and then one that you can do that's like the big ticket item, and that's the dedication of the next novel in your name. But then some of the other ones that I put in here as add-ons, I've got some leftover variant covers from issue 2 that were made by some made by Alex Cormick, some made by Ryan Dunleavy, and so I've sent them to a metal printer and getting them metallized so that people can grab some of those and make them even more special than just the variants that they got last issue. So I'm pretty excited about those.
Nice, very nice. This level you have up here, what is that? Chris will write a custom 10,000 word Mandrill PR short story for you. I mean, yeah. Wolf, have you done that one before?
Nobody's taken me up on that one yet, but like if you want the Toonsville equivalent of the Paw Patrol to run amok and Mandrill PI to stop them, let's do it. If you want a Toonsville equivalent of Winnie the Pooh to succumb to some sort of Lovecraftian horror and have Mandrill PI take on the case, then let's do that. It's all open world here, but like we won't infringe on any copyrights. We would do some sort of equivalent parody of it if that's what you wanted to do, or it can be the world is your oyster. But either way, it can be a canon story in the Mandrill PI series.
Okay, cool.
And how much does that tier go for?
That one is $8.99. Because I would also get that one professionally edited and get a cover made for it as well. So the idea would be not just here's 10,000 words for you, but here's 10,000 that are completely professionally edited and also a cover, so you can have it all to enjoy there.
Very cool.
Very nice, yeah. That is awesome.
That's a pretty nice tier, come to think of it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, you funded, which is really good.
All right. Way to
awesome.
go. Congratulations, man.
Thanks. I'm super excited.
Yeah. Like I said, for anyone who's watching, please, show notes, hit the link, go get yourself some Mandrill.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the artwork is incredible. I'm pretty sure the story is awesome, too. The story sounds funny as all heck. Yeah, man. All right, cool. See, I keep telling the wife I got to stop buying stuff.
She's going to kick you out, bro.
Let me tell you, well, it's not even her kicking me out. I got too much stuff to live here. I might have to move out just to have a place for my stuff.
Let's use it as a box spring and mattress at this point.
Serious, man. It's crazy. All right, cool. Nice. All right. Well, we went through everybody's campaigns, so let's get back to talking. Here you go. Here's a question. I mean, all of us are independent creators. All of us put in a certain amount of time every day. Everybody has different schedules or whatever. So on average, on a weekly basis, how many hours a week do you think you put in on your comics? Right? Mr. Celestri, you're back up front.
Yeah, okay. Well, since I'm retired and this is what I do, I probably put in about 30 to 40 hours a week.
Okay.
And that's because I'm doing everything.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm doing the artwork. I'm doing and scanning, scanning, proofing. Always. I mean, I don't know how many times I keep looking at the dialogue and making sure that I haven't misspelled something, or I need to, I go through everything. So yeah, it's 30 to 40 hours, but I draw slow. So there you go. Yeah, that's it.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Larry, how many hours a week do you think you're putting in? All right, I think Larry fell asleep. He might be in the bathroom.
No, I'm here. I was just boomer.
Gotcha.
I don't know because I'm not an artist. So, and I mean, I write the script and then I send it off. So a lot of my time, as far as the actual production of a book, is just spent waiting.
Oh, wow.
So my time is usually spent by doing stuff like this, right? Going on shows or doing my own show. A lot of promotion on Facebook and Twitter and sometimes Instagram, and telling anyone with an ear who's willing to listen about what I do, And it happens in spurts, but then there's time when you have to fulfill, and you're like spending 2 weeks straight, mailing out packages and stuff. So, I mean, the chop it down on a weekly basis, I guess it depends on what week it is. If it's just like this week, maybe 2 or 3 hours, just like posting and doing a streams or something. But if I'm writing the script, it's longer. If I'm fulfilling books, it's longer, and that's about it. So it's hard to give you a ballpark number on that.
Gotcha. Chris, what type of time do you spend?
Sure. So this is going to be more ballpark. So it's more that I set a pretty strict routine where I've got a young kid and also a really demanding day job. So I'll usually wake up at about 4 a.m. and row for about 45 minutes on this machine that I have over here, and then jump from there over to writing after I take a shower. And so just depending on how long it takes me to cool down and shower, then that's usually about 2 hours of writing / editing / whichever project I'm working on at the time until it's time to go to the day job. And then when I get home from that, that's usually when I do the stuff that requires less like creative thought, because I'm usually like drained by that point. So I'll come home and then play with the kid and hang out with the wife until the kid goes down. Then I'll get another hour or two maybe at the end of the day. So I would say on average 2 to 3-ish per weekday. So that's about 10, 15, and then about maybe 5 on each day on the weekend. So probably depending on the week, 20 to 30 hours. And forgive me if that back of the envelope math was a little bit off, but that's usually what I aim for. So
that's cool. That's cool. Joe, what do you got? How much time do you find yourself spending on the work?
Now, define work. Does that include things like podcast and all the other stuff that may not be directly related to the actual comic book production?
I would say just the production, writing, illustrating, lettering, whatever it is you're doing. That physically has to be done to those books, including
the books. So we're not talking about newsletters or anything to that magnitude either.
Promotion.
No promotion. Okay.
Right.
On average, I would say per week, maybe about somewhere between 6 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
It's not much. It's maybe about like an hour or two here on one day and maybe an hour another day because of the 9 to 5 type deal.
Right. No, I got you. Many of us are strangled by that one. Jay, what do you got?
I'm glad you said you excluded promotion, because promotion, there's a lot, especially when there's a campaign going on.
Mm-hmm.
But on average, without that, solid 15 to 20 a week. So we're looking at 2 hours a night. And then on my days off, before anybody gets up, I'm still waking up at 4 a.m. and putting in maybe 3 hours plus before people start waking up.
Gotcha. All right, cool. For myself, I'm kind of like Jay. I'm putting in roughly 2.5 hours a night, sometimes 3. Depends on what I'm working on and how crazy I'm trying to get something done. On the weekends, anywhere from 5 to 6 hours, depending on what I'm doing those days. So yeah, probably about anywhere from 15 to 30 hours a week, roughly. You know, because I mean, you just got to do what you got to do. You know. All right, I guess that was a softball question. Jay, give us a hard go.
Have you ever had to let go of a collaborator, somebody you hired, or separate yourself from them?
Interesting. All right. I think Larry was up.
Yeah, a couple times. We had a girl that was going to draw Niobe manga style for Birthright. Like Niobe Birthright was almost a manga, and I met her on another stream, and I thought she could handle it. Problem was that she wasn't very good at drawing the bike and some vehicles, and it just wasn't going to work. You know what I mean? There's bikes and stuff in that book, so cut ties there. The original Niobe artist, Steve Boyu, when we took our break after Avani and we switched from black and white to color, I also had a long talk with Steve about, that I wanted maybe to go with a different artist, and that, Steve might be happier, focusing on his own books that he was also trying to do. Plus he was working a full-time job. Plus he was looking after a handicapped sister, and his mom just died.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And so I didn't want to cut him out of Niobe, but at the same time, Niobe was a lot to take on too, right? And he needed to be honest, he also needed to work on his style a bit more and improve, and he has over the years, but he understood everything, and he still contributes to Niobe to this day with pinups and cards and stuff, and he works with Ben Dunn now doing the backup story for Tiger X. But yeah, we end up parted ways with him, as the official Niobe artist, and found other guys. It happens,
All right, cool. Chris, you ever had these issues?
I did when I first started working in comics, and it was really before I really understood as much as I know now about sort of talent evaluation. And it was a situation where I hired somebody who wasn't quite a good fit, and now what I do to try and prevent some of that is I'll usually hire an artist for the page rate of a few pages to do the some of the beginning phases of a project, like the character sketches and character designs and like a few print style pieces, so that I can get a better feel for how their vision will translate over into the work. And so I'll usually do that before we sign on longer term, and that's helped to prevent other situations like that where it didn't quite work out. I'd say the places where maybe it's not me letting them go, but places where it has worked out less is sometimes when I get like pinups made or something. Sometimes it'll be an artist who either doesn't follow through, or something will end up happening and we just can't end up finishing the project. But usually it hasn't really affected me as much. So.
Yeah, cool. Hold on, before we move on to Joe, just want to read some of this stuff. Luke says, "What's up?" Hey, folks.
Hey, Luke.
Luke, how you been? American Comics, I would keep as a core of the pitch that is relatable to all ages, from the elderly that recognize the comic strip and newspapers to the youth in games and video gaming, in static, relaxing art pages. Not to forget, a business wants the sales. The reader will develop the interest. Probably shouldn't get that too twisted. Carlos, so many times I can't even begin to list them all. Lol, shit. And then I hired JD Rosario, but I fired him before he even knew I hired him. He just found out. You're so bad. You're so good. You're bad.
Shit.
Got rid of.
Shit. I hope I didn't get paid for that.
You're lucky he doesn't send you an invoice. Joe, what are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts is yes. When I actually used to publish actual prose, I had to let go of a writer because of his behavior in public.
Interesting. Okay, that's cool. For myself,
Wait, you didn't ask John.
I'm sorry, John. Jeez.
Oh my God, what's wrong with you?
Listen,
A
man.
host? Holy shit!
Look, I'm going on vacation tomorrow, and to be honest with you, that's all I'm thinking about.
I see. I see.
I haven't even packed yet. My apologies, John.
That's okay.
Oh,
Listen. We're talking about comic books now. So, in the last 8 years or so, I've fired myself many a time, but I keep begging and pleading and coming back on bended knees and said, "Please, I'll do better." And I go and I tell him, "Okay, go develop your style. Just do something else. I'm going to be doing something else here. Come back when you're better at drawing this shit." So
Nice.
there you go.
All right, cool. It's an interesting question because I mean, it's funny. Like, the one person that I probably had to cut ties a little bit with is one of the people that I started out in the business with years and years and years ago.
Oh.
And I've done literally hundreds of pages with this guy. We work professionally together with all this stuff. And I'm going to out him. His name is Matt Lunsford. Now, I'm outing him because I recently had a conversation with Matt. And the reason was all because of commitment. He just wasn't committed anymore. You know, we had worked together. We started when we were 18, 19 years old. I met him. He was probably 16. I was probably 18. And we worked together up until our late 20s, you know. And we did literally hundreds and hundreds of pages. We did work professionally. He got me work, all right, in the business. You know, it was his contacts where he brought me in. He said, "Look, they need a writer." And they would walk me in. I would pitch, and they're like, "Okay, go for it." And we did the stuff. But, you know, disillusionment settles in. I kept going. He left. I had to cut ties because, you know, he just wasn't producing. He was just not in it. But I had a conversation with him recently. And he told me, he came to me, he says, "Bro," he says, "you know, one of my biggest regrets is the last 20 years is not producing more work."
Oh.
And I said, "Dude," I says, "whatever you want to do, whether you want to do it for me, you want to do it for yourself, don't worry about it. You got my support." You know, and he's done a cover for Daphne. He's done a cover for me so far. He's working on a short story. And, you know, he wants to produce. And, you know, Matt is an incredible artist, you know, and I'm happy to have him back. This dude is my road warrior brother. You know, we've been on the road together. We go to shows. We would be running around New York like two lunatics with long boxes on carts, and we'd be selling these things like nuts. And we did this for 5 or 6 years. I miss this guy. I can't even tell you how much. And he's like my brother, you know, and I'm happy to have him back, you know. So it went from cutting him out to bring him back in. So, you know, that's how I always view it. You don't ever cut out anybody permanently, or at least you try not to. You know, you always leave. I always try to leave that door open. There are some heads. Sometimes you gotta cut them out, and that's the end of them. You know, there's some bad people out there, but you know, we won't go into that. Mr. Rosario.
Yeah. You know, we're trying to produce content, and if you can't keep up, forget even keeping up. If you're not committed, and you know, you can't turn in a certain amount of content within a reasonable time, I got to move on, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, you know, I've spoken to a number of kids. I can see you firing dozens of people.
But like John, I fire myself every fucking week, man. I'm like, you wrote this shit? You fucking suck, bro. Seriously.
You know what's funny? It's like you guys talk about firing yourselves. You can only fire an employee. I can't fire myself because I'm more like a slave to the project. So I'm like, I gotta be there. I got no choice. You know, I'm like, you know, I'm shackled to it. I'm like, all right, start lettering.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but when if you have to do more than one thing, you know, or two things, you can fire yourself and hire somebody else.
Well,
you know, but I'm too cheap, and you know,
that's the old school Brooklyn in you, John.
Yeah.
Right there, baby. That's where I'm at sometimes.
Yep. Nice.
I'm too cheap and I'm too tough.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Again, that's the old school Brooklyn in you.
Exactly.
You know?
Nice.
You're that worn down leather. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, Joe, you got a question for us? What's up?
Yeah, the question I have is probably going to take us a little bit off the rails a bit, and it should be fun. What is the worst interview question that has ever been asked to you?
Chris, you're up. This might be that question, but go ahead.
You stole the one joke that I was going to ask.
You see, he's a shitty host. He's a shitty fucking host.
Yeah, I don't know if I can think of one like right offhand. I mean, I unfortunately I'm drawing a blank, so I apologize. I'll think of one in a minute.
Yeah.
But if you come up with something, let us know.
Yeah.
John.
Wait, a joke or an answer? Because I'll
Oh,
don't open the door for me, Jake. John, what's the worst question you've ever been asked?
oh, geez. There are many, but what would be a question not knowing who I am and what I'm doing? You know, it's kind of like, you know, somebody. It's more the tenure of it, of like saying, you know, like, how did you get started in the business? That to me is that it really is. I've said that, I've told that so many times, but it's really kind of like it's so far back in ancient history that it's not relatable anymore. And you can't, I can't, or question of us, how do I get started today? I don't know how you get started today. It's a different world. Yeah. So for me, that's kind of like, you know, the question. If I were, you know, somebody who was just you know, maybe 20 years into my career, that would be different, because I could just, you know, I'm on the, you know, what, so on and so forth, you know, I'm in there. But and I've had that question, you know, several times. And I started, like, you know, in the 60s, for crying out loud. That's half a century ago, you know, beyond a half a century ago. So we have a whole different world. So yeah, that's my worst question.
That's fair. All right. That's interesting. It's interesting that perspective on it. But yeah, but it's definitely valid. Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. Larry, what do you got?
I don't got anything though. I mean, no one's really asked me, you know, a super dumb question. I go, oh fuck, that was dumb. You know, and for the most part, there is no real dumb questions. If you know, honestly don't know the answer, then you don't know. I mean, I'm much like Chris. I mean, if I'm sure I've been asked some dumb things, but I'm drawing a blank on, you know, like, oh, I remember this one time 3 years ago when Buddy asked me X. You know, I got nothing like that.
Gotcha. That's because you were never interviewed by Jay. That's why.
Wow. Take a pop shot. Wow.
Oh, he is. I hope you get diarrhea on your flight.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't mind you saying that because I know it already happened to you.
It has.
Go ahead.
Okay, so the dumbest question. Funny you said what you said. Dumbest question I've ever been asked is, if you had to choose one, would you rather have your comics on a newsstand or a comic shop? Boom. So yes, being interviewed by me. It's a fucking stupid fucking thing. No, you know, I mean, the weirdest one is whenever people find out I'm from New York, you know, they're always not always, but they'll lean to, does pineapple belong on pizza? I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Just because I'm in New York, you know, it doesn't fucking matter. Man. Eat what you want to eat. It's your money. So yeah, that's all I got.
All right. I'll add, you know what? I'll tell you one. The question that stumped me when I got hit with it. They asked me, I'm Hispanic, I'm Puerto Rican specifically. I'm like Jay, I'm from New York. I'm very pale. You know, I don't get much sun, but I'm Hispanic. But they asked me, this is, how does your ethnicity affect your writing? And at the time, I hadn't even thought about it. This was asking me maybe about 12 years ago, and I hadn't even thought about it, you know, because I would do things like I would name certain characters, like Hispanic names, and they would be like goblins named Pedro, and it would be like a baby goblin named Pedro or whatever, and it would be something really goofy like that, and I would just put it in for fun. And they asked me that question, and I just never really thought about it, you know, and it wasn't until that point that I started thinking about it. I was like, oh, okay. And then I started acting a little bit more, and it actually changed the way I start looking at things and writing these stories, you know, the way I start, you know, maybe putting in these few extra elements from these other things, you know, like I have a race of entities named the Mar, and I was like, I want them to have medieval armor, but instead of having them have the traditional French armor, what you would see, you know, like what you would see Lancelot in with the helmet, I said, no, put them in conquistador armor. You know, I said put them in that type of armor because it is different. You know, it's a different style, it's a different look. So I was like, okay, so let's try something like that. You know, so and it wasn't a stupid question. It was one that generally, I mean, when he asked me, like there were sparks literally coming out of my head. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know, I've never really thought about it. It's just like, okay. So yeah, that was it for me. Now, Joe, I gotta hear your answer because I'm pretty sure you want to answer this question because I gotta hear this.
Yeah.
What was the dumbest question?
I got two for you. I'm going to keep them short too. The first one, you're going to get a chuckle out of this. I was in an interview one time and somebody started projecting their fetishes on my Amazonian book. And they started asking me questions about orientation, how would they go about doing X, Y, and Z. You kind of like going like, how does this relate back to the book, and why would that play a factor or less? And then I thought about it, I was like, oh, they must be one of those types. And yeah, we got to play nice with those people who get into that types of, you know, getting their rocks knocked off by that type of thing. And you have to play nice and just answer the questions as they're given to you. But the stupidest one was in an interview, and I pretty much told him, it's like, yes, yeah, I'm the creator of AWF, you know, which is drawn by such and such, Primetime Saturday Night, which is done in Dot Studio, and I still write and draw Amazonia. We just have people drawing covers. So they picked up a couple of Amazonia ones. It's like, oh, this is a nice cover, this, that, and the other. I told them who was drawn by it. It's like, so such and such drew the whole book. It's like, no, I still write and draw this book. Go to the next one. It's like, well, who did this cover? It's like such and such, such and such, such and such. So they draw the. How many times I gotta tell you? I drew the interior pages. Only other people have only did do the covers. And I had to go through that 4 times for 4 different covers.
All right. Well, yeah, that's rough.
Yeah.
And Jay, you say I'm a terrible host. You know, that.
No, it's just like if you don't advertise yourself as in a certain way that you do certain aspects of the work, people have a hard time just believing you for some reason, and that's the way I took that. It's like I just told you, I still draw this series,
and you know, to be full disclosure, I didn't say you're a terrible host. I said you're a shitty host. There's a difference.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate the clarity.
Terrible is worse than shitty. You can be shitty.
All right. Hold on. Let's pull up this by Carlos. Carlos says, I had the same experience with Adidas. He was with me from 2014 to 2016, and I fired him when he started getting unprofessionally late. But I rehired him last year, and now he's my house artist. There you go.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes you got to give a person a break, you know? That's very nice. Yeah. All right. Here's one. Here, I'm gonna softball everybody. Like, I'm a huge, as I'm sure everybody else is here, right? We're all indie advocates. We all advocate for the indie comics. You understand? I read a lot of books, right? I don't know about everybody else. I can't speak for everybody else. I'm a comic book degenerate. So the question is this: is how many comics on average, independent comics on average, do you think you're reading a month?
Oh,
right. And all right, well, I think we're back at Chris.
Man, I tend to back a lot of Kickstarters by creators, and I also tend to do some like comic features and reviews on TikTok as well. So I tend to use that platform as well to share out other people's work, and so that sort of gives me another excuse and reason to read more as well. I can go grab this box from my closet here in just a second and show you the backlog of them, because there's a ton in there because they just keep piling up. So I'd say on average I'd probably have time to get to like 3 to 4 a week if I'm lucky. Sometimes it's less than that just because of all of the other stuff going on, but there's a ton in there that I still haven't had time to read that I really, really want to. So
No, I know. Larry's gonna kick me in the nuts. I've yet to read Niobe. I have a pile, like, Jesus Christ.
yeah.
Yes,
Just even-
it's coming, Larry. I swear I'm gonna read it soon.
Read it soon.
Yes, John, what do you think? What are your thoughts?
Maybe one a month.
Okay.
Maybe one a month, and I'll say why is because they're not speaking to me.
Mhm.
I mean, I am at an age. I mean, they're not talking to me, and that's not. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm just saying is that what my referencing and what I'm interested in isn't covered, and that's and there's nothing wrong with that. I just thought I'm just kind of like the guy who is walking in from a different world, really, and saying, okay, here's a place that there's a lot of independence, and they're talking to each other, and I don't hear anybody talking to me, and so therefore there's only like 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 a year or 5 a year, and so I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and maybe nobody will listen to me, and that's how I approach it. But I'm not a fan. I don't even read the. You know what? I'm some. Let's put it this way. I've started rereading my original run of Ian Fleming James Bond books.
Oh, nice.
You know, I mean, that I bought when I was a teenager. I mean, you're talking about, published back in 1964 or 65. I'm just going, I've got all of this stuff to reread. I can reread all kinds of things. And I want to bring that fresh in my memory and bring that into the mix. And that's kind of like why, I mean, I'm sorry, you're asking me, what I read. And I'm saying this is why I don't, is because people are doing what they want to do because they enjoy, they want to do their take on their books and their characters. And okay, but I didn't grow up reliving, the 80s or 90s. I was busy doing the stuff that they were, going on. I mean, and there is nothing wrong with that. This is just, this is what happens when you have multi-generational artists here, and so I'm just saying, okay, I'm going to try and reintroduce stuff that hasn't been touched on for a long time, or a way of doing something. And I think that's the importance of independent comics, is that you can jump in with an idea that hasn't been looked at. It's so old, it's new again. Anyway, that's the long-winded way of talking. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. I mean, listen, John, I think it's refreshing. I mean, you do carry a very different perspective.
Yep.
Than what I carry, Jay, Joe. I mean, all of us, and I find that refreshing and necessary. Because you're going to see things differently than I do. And I want to hear that perspective because I'm like because it'll spark that thing off in my one neuron left, and it'll be like, hey, maybe I could do something. Maybe I'll look into reading some of those old Ian Fleming, 007 novels, or something. You know what I mean? It's always good to have that different perspective.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing reading those Ian Fleming books. They sound like literature. For crying out loud! No! Literally, there. Some of them were even compound sentences. You know, I mean, those things were written in 1952, 53, 54, 55. You know, Ian Fleming was the assistant secretary of intelligence for the British during World War II. This guy knew what he knows his stuff.
And I just found out he was Christopher Lee's cousin.
Oh, okay. That makes.
I didn't know that at all.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, there is such a ton. Louis L'Amour, look at storytelling. You want to do storytelling? Louis L'Amour wrote the same blessed story for 55 novels, and he made it seem different every time he did it.
Listen, that requires a special skill.
Yes, it does.
Special
Especially when they were all kept in print. In print. So, so that's the thing. Yeah. Let's say, JD, when all you guys get to be my age and you are talking to guys who have been looked at your stuff, come back and talk to me, but I'll be dead by that time.
Don't say that. I hope so. I want to be able to relate with you on that, man. Shit, you drew Boba Fett, bro. I want somebody to see some of my stuff and look at it and like, you're the one who did blah 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 blah, and I'll be like, John, remember when I first talked to you about Boba? Yeah, man. Somebody hit me with that the other day. I'd kill for that fucking moment, man.
Exactly. Nice. Larry, what do you got, bro?
Define the indies for me first. Is it just strictly crowdfunded books, or is it like?
It could be anything off the rack. It could be stuff like I just picked up a bunch of stuff off in a dollar box. I got me some Phase 1 phasers, Sunrunners. I picked up
like if indies anything but Marvel and DC. If that's the definition, then
pretty much. I mean, I would maybe exclude like Spawn and Teenage Mutant Turtles, but if you want to include those, that's fine.
Well, I mean, like to me, if you can buy it at a comic shop, to me, it's no longer indie anymore. That's my personal view.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay,
very nice.
Like to me, indie is what I do. I mean,
wait, but we can buy you in a comic shop now, Larry.
Yeah. Correct.
So you're not indie no more, bro.
You sold out.
Well, the way it was always defined to me is when you're with the publisher and you're now being paid to do your stuff. That's different than just being a ground level creator.
I'm fucking with you, bro. I'm fucking with you.
But to me, an indie is like you're putting in all the work yourself. You're trying to get out there. A publisher hasn't touched you yet. You're not in Diamond. You're not in comic book shops. You're essentially underground comic books, right? If that's what we're talking about, then maybe on average once a month I get someone's Kickstarter that comes to the house maybe twice. If it's like, okay, we're going to count, Antarctic Press and Alternative Comics and Dynamite and Image and all that stuff, then that's a whole different answer. You know what I mean? Because I get probably 5 or 6 Antarctic Press titles. I get like Red Sonja. I buy the odd Image thing. I go back and I buy like books from companies that aren't even around anymore, like Eternity Press.
Yeah.
So, if we're counting that, then a lot.
That's fair, man. Trust me. The more, the better. We got to encourage each other to read as many.
But I mean, like if you're published and I can buy your comic book in my buttfuck nowhere comic book store in Eastern Canada, are you really that indie anymore? You know what I mean?
You'd be surprised. Because like even an Image. If those guys, some of those guys don't even crack 10,000.
Yeah, but you didn't want to include Spawn and da 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 da. But guess what?
Wait,
There's still Image Comics. That's still an Image publisher. You know what I mean?
You mean $10,000 gross or 10,000 units?
10,000 units. Yeah, there's some of them still have those issues.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Joe, what do you think?
My thoughts is pretty much, I'm glad that Larry got a preferences, because I was going to exclude anything that's crowdfunding, because again, they don't come out monthly. So excluding those, I would have to say I could count it on one hand, probably no more than 5 a month. Mm-hmm. I could pretty much name the ones that, I'm reading now, because most of the stuff that I'm getting now are limited series of stuff. They only come out, 5-6 issues as of late.
Right.
I think the only ongoing series that I've been reading as of late is Red Sita.
Who produces it?
That's Dynamite.
Yeah, that's Dynamite.
That's Red Sonja, sort of adopted daughter sort of stuff.
Uh-huh. So they have that plus 8 billion genies. Guilt is another one. Do a Power Bomb.
Mm-hmm.
And Hit Me is the other one. And Hit Me just wrapped up, so that's going to be off the list.
Gotcha. All right. Fair enough. Jay, what are you looking at?
Maybe about 2 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know you go through a ton. I get updates, push notifications on it. Every Kickstarter you back, your name pops up on my phone like 3 times a night.
I'm a degenerate. What do you want from me, bro? I got issues, man. You know?
I'm like, why the fuck is this guy awake at 3:30 in the morning? Ding, ding.
You know, I'm like, listen, man, it's just what it is. Yeah, I read a lot of books. What I have to get back to do is I have to start reviewing books again.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
what I have to get back to. But yeah, I don't know. I'm probably reading like 30 a month.
Jesus Christ.
You said it best. You're dollar bin diving to get most of those. So you're going back for the older stuff.
Yeah, some of the older
I
stuff.
mean, it's like some of the newer stuff that's coming out.
Well, no. If we're talking about newer stuff, I mean, because the thing is, I at this point, I don't regularly buy single issues. I primarily buy trades and hardcovers. That's my big thing. So, but every month from DCBS, damn it, I gotta get them to sponsor. But anyway, every month, I'm probably getting 8 to 10 trades, hardcover, you name it. It's varied. It's all over the place, right? And yeah, and I burn through probably 100, 150 pages a night. You know? But it mixed in with that is like, you know, I'll get a Marvel omnibus, a DC omnibus. I got a couple of Ed Brubaker omnibuses on
Criminal.
my Criminals one. No, not Criminal. I have his run on Catwoman.
Oh, okay.
And his run on Gotham, his Gotham run, whatever that thing is. It's like, you know, it's a Chihuahua killer.
The GCPD. Chihuahua killer. We went through this one last week, folks. Chihuahua killer. If you can hit a Chihuahua or crush a Chihuahua with a phone book, that's what he's looking at. Fucking terrible. Now you're terrible. Now you're fucking
not right
terrible.
with that one.
Before you were shitty. Now you're terrible.
Listen, I haven't done it.
Lies. Again, lies, motherfucker.
I'm only saying I've never owned a Chihuahua. So
yeah, but that doesn't mean you've golfed a neighbor's Chihuahua with a fucking phone book.
No.
Shit. Oh my god, you bastard.
Wait, my parents are married. Anyway,
I'm gonna have to bug in now. I'm gonna have to bug out now. Sorry, guys.
John, we were wrapping up anyway, so please let everybody know where they can find you or your work. We hit the 2-hour mark.
Okay. The best place to find me right now is at Kickstarter with Bloodwing Angel. Michael gives the demons the flaming finger. That's that. And you can see me on at Celestri John, and on Twitter, on Facebook's John Celestri, and on YouTube John Celestri.
Nice.
There you go.
Very nice, very nice. Thank you, John. You know, it's always awesome having you on. I probably got to do another one-on-one with you at some point.
Okay.
You know,
Take care, John.
Okay. Take care. It's nice talking to you guys.
Yeah.
Likewise, brother.
See ya.
Have a good one, sir.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. So, Larry, let us know where we can find you and your work, sir.
I mean, it's pretty much Niobe Comics on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. You know, we're currently on Indiegogo, so once again, 3 days left. If you want to, cash in on Niobe Outbreak, now's the time. And you know, as we stated a few times, at your local comic shop, also look for us and pick up Niobe if you see it happen, be floating around on your shelf.
Nice.
Cool. Nice. Chris, where can they find you and your work, sir?
Sure. So on Kickstarter right now, Mandrill PI issue 3, and then my website is cbrimmage.com, just first initial last name, and then Instagram it's Chris Brimmage author _ between the different words, and TikTok I think it's Chris Brimmage author, and then Facebook is Christopher Brimmage author. Just depends on character limit if it's Chris or Christopher. Really.
Gotcha. All right, cool. Mr. Joe.
Right there on the screen, the link tree that you see there, the oh, okay. It's right there on the screen. It's linktr.ee/silvolt. That's SILVBOLT. That has all the links to our company page, our online store, Facebook, YouTube, things like DeviantArt, everything.
All right, cool. Mr. Rosario.
Unstoppable Comics. You go to unstoppablecomics.com. You'll find all our social media links right there on the website.
All right, cool. Well, you can find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and DeviantArt, all under JD Calderon. You can find also the Oswald Chronicles on the OswaldChronicles.com. You also find some more of my work on TallTalesOnline.com and the Oswald Chronicles currently running on Kickstarter. Everything's in the show notes, not just my book, but so is Jay's website, Joe D's website, Chris Brimmage's website, and Mr. Niobe himself, and John Celestri's website. So go check it out. Everything's in the web. Everything's in the notes. Go buy some indie comics. I'll be talking to you guys later. Oh yeah, and especially mine. Hey, have a good night, guys.
Night, everybody.
So much.
Night.